Good morning, boys and girls. Today's lecture is sequel to the previous lecture that is delivered yesterday. We are concerned with the poem The Season of the Plants, meant for 11th class students, and the poem is written by AGHA SHAHID. Let us first see the linear note regarding about the author. We will discuss after that the poem. Now, as in the previous lecture I said, I have discussed it entirely, but today, just a brief and a cursory look upon his biography. Shahid Ali, born on 4th February 1949 in Srinagar, Kashmir, and then he died on 8th December 2001 at the age of 52 years. He has almost acquired age of 52 years. Now his resting place is obviously Amherst, Massachusetts, United States of America. And then, alma mater, it is obviously the University of Kashmir, University of Delhi, Pennsylvania State University, where he acquired PhD. Okay, and University of Arizona, where he did MFA. Shahid Ali's occupation is poet, and he is also the professor. He did his lectures in nine universities, and then his well-known works, National Book Award 2001, and then you have Guggenheim Fellowship for Creative Arts, United States and Canada. Then notable credits, these are very famous works. The Country Without a Post Office, this is considered to be his foremost work, or you can say the masterpiece. Rooms Are Never Finished, and The Rebels Saluted. And then if you see relatives, because I said he is from a very royal family and an educated family, that's why you have certain relatives. First of all, see the name of the father, Aga Ashraf Ali, who I said is, a well-known educationist of Jammu and Kashmir. And then you have Professor Aga Iqbal Ali. This is brother, Shahid Ali's brother. Professor Hina Ahmed, Professor Samita Aga, both sisters and are professors as well. Aga Shaukat Ali, uncle, the name of the uncle. Begum Zafar Ali, grandmother. This is little bit about Aga Shahid Ali, right? Let us try to understand straight away. We will try to see the poem, and we will discuss it. Here is poem on your screen. Now the name of the poem is obviously The Season of the Plants. In Kashmir, where the year has 4 clear seasons, my mother spoke of her childhood in the plains of Lucknow, and of that season in itself. The monsoon, when Krishna's flute is heard on the shores of Jamuna. Now see these lines. If you talk of other than Kashmir, any country, you will come to know you didn't have 4 seasons. Here in Kashmir, you have a complete timetable with regard to the seasons. You have four seasons, and each season is covering almost 3 months. That's why he is writing this poem, and he tells you in Kashmir, where the year has four clear seasons. You have four clear seasons in Kashmir. And then, very interesting to note, my mother spoke of her childhood in plains of Lucknow and of that season in itself. The monsoon, when Krishna's flute is heard on the shores of Jamuna. Now, there is something specific related with her mother, with his mother, right? Now, mother is brought up somewhere in the plains of Lucknow. And when he says plains of Lucknow, obviously the season of monsoon is, you know, associated with the area, with the particular region. That's why he says, my mother spoke of her childhood. She is recollecting. If you talk of Shahid Ali's mother, she recollects the plans of Lucknow. She recollects her childhood that is spent in Lucknow, in the plans of Lucknow. And when she spent, her childhood in the plans of Lucknow, it has a lasting impression. Obviously, you can easily understand childhood memories are always, you know, that remains in our somewhere in the back of memory, and sometimes you can say in both, you can say conscious as well as unconscious, but this particular memory is predominant because childhood impressions are always remembered. That's why my mother spoke of her childhood. Now, her mother spoke of her childhood that she spent in the plains of Lucknow and of that season in itself. Now, there's one season that is very famous, not only in Lucknow, but all over the India where you will find plain areas are there, and that is the season of monsoon. You didn't have monsoon in Kashmir. कश्मीर में आपका monsoon नहीं है. But if you go to the plain areas of India, you will find monsoon is there, and monsoon is something that is associated with number of things, and we will try to ascertain those things in the poem. And what happens during the season of monsoon? When Krishna's flute is heard on the shores of Jamuna. Krishna's flute, right? Lord Krishna's flute. Flute, you can say, जिसको हम बंसरी वगैरह कहते हैं, is heard on the shores of Jamuna. Jamuna जो है, Jamuna, name of the very, very, you can say, is sacred as well as prominent river. There, क्या होता था वहाँ पर she heard the sound of Lord Krishna's flutes. When Krishna's flute is heard on the shores of Jamuna, Jamuna के किनारे पे बजाई जाती थी वो बंसरी वगैरह, that is considered to be the flute, Krishna's flute. Okay, ये होता था लखनऊ के plain areas में, and she is recollecting all these things. And at the same time, she played old records of the Banaras Thumri singers, Siddheshwari and Rusulon. Their voices longing when the clouds gather for that invisible blue God. Separation can't be born when the rains come. This every lyric says. Right? Now see these lines. She played old records of Banaras Thumri singers, Siddheshwari and Rusulon. Their voices longing when the clouds gather for that invisible blue God. Right? Now, these lines are very interesting at the same time. She played old records. She refers to the mother, obviously the poet's mother. Now, what are old records? Old records simply, she plays old records to hear the voices of two of her favorite Thumri singers. Obviously, what are two her favorite Thumri singers? Sudeshwari and Rusulan, classical singers. They are considered to be classical singers. Now you have one more word, that is Thumri. If you talk of the Thumri singers, what is Thumri? A Thumri is an ancient form of Hindustani classical music, right? Thumri हम कहते हैं ancient form of Hindustani classical music. जो क्लासिकल म्यूजिक होता है उसी को कहते हैं हम थुमरी. अब जो माँ है किसकी, शाहिद अली की, what she is doing, she played old records of Banaras Thumri singers. She is playing old records of Banaras Thumri singers. और कौन से दो singers? Sudeshwari and Rusulan. Both are considered to be classical singers. Their voice is longing. अब क्या होता है, what do these records contain? क्या होता है, if you talk of these records, these records basically they contain the singer's longing for what is called the blue god. The singer's longing for the blue god. Now, longing is desire, wish. अब चूँकि वो बांसुरी बजा रही है and she is she is in a way singing the songs of Sudeshwari and Rasulan, right? And what does these songs or records contain? Their voices are basically longing. Their voices are longing for the blue god. The records say that separation cannot be born when the rains come in the summer season, what is called monsoon season, right? Now, this is very essential to note. The singers' voices are full of longing. Singers' voices are basically full of longing. Those voices have strong desire. For what? For union with lover or beloved. For lover or beloved. These voices reflect a feeling of loneliness which is unbearable. Now, what is the idea? Idea is, otherwise, the poet's mother has not told all these things to the poet, right? But we understand perhaps she has fallen in love with somebody who is considered to be the lover. That's why she is playing old records of Banaras Thumri singers. She is playing old records of classical singers, Sudeshwari and Rusulan. And their voices are longing for what? Their voices are longing for that what is called invisible blue god. What is called, in other words, you can call it Lord Krishna. Blue god. Lord Krishna. They're longing. There is some sort of desire to see what is called invisible blue god. And why it happens? Now you can understand the below lines. Separation cannot be born when the rains come. Now this is very interesting. Rains, monsoon rains, whenever they come, separation can't be born. It cannot be tolerated. Separation between lover versus beloved. एक तरफ से beloved है, दूसरी तरफ से lover है. उनकी जो separation है, that cannot be tolerated. Why that cannot be tolerated? When the rain is come. That means जो monsoon का season है, जो या rainy season है, इसका एक खास वास्ता है किसके साथ? Beloved and what is called in other words lover के साथ. Why? क्यों ऐसा है? Because there are certain restrictions, restrictions on moral grounds, on religious grounds, on ethical grounds. Okay, we do not allow beloved and lover to become united. You know, ये ये एक रीत चली है ऑलरेडी, और स्पेशली इन द कंजर्वेटिव सोसाइटी और नंबर ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स. That's why you have this much separation cannot be born when the rains come. जिस वक्त मानसून आ जाती है, बारिश आ जाती हैं, बारिशें आती हैं, separation cannot be tolerated. This every lyric says, right? Now the idea is जब भी मानसून आता है उस टाइम ऐसा ही होता है. सेपरेशन लवर वर्सेस बिलाउड के दरमियान जो है, it cannot be tolerated at all. It becomes very strong. It becomes, there is some, sort of what you say, anxiety that is filled upon both lover as well as what's called beloved. ठीक है, दोनों anxious हो जाते हैं. क्यों हो जाते हैं? Because from another side try to understand क्यों होता है ऐसा. While the children ran out into the alleys, soaking their utter summer. While the children ran out in the alleys हम कहते हैं तंग रास्ते जो होते हैं, छोटी छोटी गलियां जो होती हैं. You can see narrow streets, that's considered to be alleys. Now what are children doing? Children, that you say in other words signifies some sort of happiness, or you can say in other words life. बच्चों से ही जिंदगी है, राइट? बच्चे क्या करते हैं? वह चिल्ड्रन रैन आउट इनटू द एलीज, बच्चे निकल आते हैं मकानों में से, दौड़ते हैं कहाँ की तरफ? छोटी छोटी गलियों कोचों की तरफ. What are they doing? Soaking their utter summer. They are drenching, lot of rain water upon their bodies. उनको बड़ा मज़ा आता है. मानसून जिस वक्त आप देखेंगे आउटसाइड कश्मीर, especially in the areas of, let us say, in the poem लखनऊ, वहाँ पे बहुत ज़बरदस्त मज़ा आता है मानसून की सीज़न में, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा गर्मी होती है और बारिश जो जगह पड़ती है, सारे बच्चे निकल आते हैं सड़कों पे, छोटी छोटी गलियों में, मुख्तलिफ जगहों पर, और अपने आप को वो पूरी तरीके से भीगते हैं वो सभी बच्चे, क्योंकि बहुत ज़बरदस्त मज़ा आता है. बट इन द मीन वाइल एक प्रॉब्लम होती है, वो होती है जो बिलाउड वर्सेस लवर है, उनके दरमियान एक तरीके की दूरी पैदा कर देता है मानसून. लेकिन मानसून में वो उनका जो नेक्सस है दैट बिकम्स वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग. दे आर बोथ इम्पेशेंट टू मीट वन अनदर. And at the same time, what did lovers do? What are lover versus beloved doing? Messages pass between lovers. They are passing message between, Now the question is how they are passing messages between the lovers. We will try to see it. Heer and Ranja and others of legends. Their love forbidden. Right? Now, burned incense all night, waiting for answers. Now, very interesting line is again. Heer and Ranja, as you know, they are considered to be, legendary lovers. Not only this couple, but you have other couples as well. You have a couple, you have gone through the poem When You Are Old. You have W.B. Yeats versus Morgan. You have Farhad versus Shireen. You understand? You have Leila versus Majnu. These are all considered to be legendary lovers. And they start what? Messages pass between lovers. They are passing messages. How they are passing messages, lovers? Why they are passing messages between one another? Heer and Ranja and other of legends. इसी तरीके जो बाकी lovers हैं, what have happened to them? They are considered to be legendary lovers. Their love forbidden. क्यों forbidden? Forbidden मना कर दिया जाता था. उनके lovers, you have उनका love जो है that is forbidden. Now why it is forbidden? Because there are religious sanctions on it. There are social sanctions on it. There are moral sanctions on it. There are ethical sanctions on it. You have a lot of sanctions because of the conservative system in the society. You have a lot of sanctions over it. And that's why they're not allowed to be, this type of love is not allowed to be encouraged between young men and young women. You have lot of restrictions. Lovers like to meet especially during the rainy season, but what happens, they are not allowed to do so. They remain what, there is always some sort of risk between them. They remain, you know they remain very anxious, but they are not allowed to do this. That's why their love forbidden. Burn, what they do now, that is interesting. They're burned incense all night. सारी रात वो जला के रखते हैं अगरबत्ती, waiting for answers. They're passing messages and waiting for answers. For example, a lover is passing message and he's waiting for answers. How he's waiting for answer from the beloved, right? Now the question is, burned incense all night. क्या चीज़ है incense all night? Incense, if you talk of अगरबत्ती वगैरह, it is considered to be good omen at the same time, क्योंकि हम इनको जलाते हैं गिरजाघरों में, मंदिर में, इन जगहों पे अगरबत्ती को जलाया जाता है. It is considered to be a good, good omen. And at the same time, that means if you talk of the love between Hira and Raja, it is considered to be a good omen. It is not something which is very bad, right? But what is the idea when he says burned incense all night? क्योंकि जिस वक्त आप इंसान को जलाते हैं, ये इस अगरबत्ती एक तो जलती है, ये जस्ट लाइक लवर्स आर, जैसे लवर्स जलते रहते हैं, लवर वर्सेस बिलाउड, बोथ आर, दोनों जलते रहते हैं. और दूसरी बात यह है कि जो अगरबत्ती का जो है ना एशेस वगैरह, वो इंटैक्ट रहती हैं. आपने कभी चेक किया हो, वो काफ़ी इंटैक्ट रहती हैं. एक तरफ से हाइपर सेंसिटिव भी होती हैं, दूसरी तरफ से ये इंटैक्ट रहती हैं. दैट मीन्स देयर इज सम सॉर्ट ऑफ होप. द आइडिया इज, इट इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी, you have some sort of hope. That's why burned incense all night. You have hope that there may be response, or there may be delayed response, but the response is there. And that's why the lovers are waiting for answers. And then what he says, what the poet says, my mother hummed Here's lament, but never told me if she also burned sticks of jasmine, that dying kept raising soft necks of ashes. Now see again these lines. My mother hummed Here's lament. Humming, you understand, humming is simply, it is basically a sound that is produced when you have some wood that is burnt. At that time the sound produced is considered to be humming sound. जिस आग जलाई जाती है, उस साउंड को हम कहते हैं हमिंग, राइट? हमिंग इन अदर वर्ड्स लो टोन में बात करना, बहुत ही धीमी तरीके से ये बातें करना. अब इसकी माँ ने क्या किया? माई मदर hummed Here's lament. Here's lament, and remember, lament, it is considered to be something sad. You can't say it is something, that will make you happy. That means, something bad is there. Okay, one thing is good, that is the union between the two. But how it is possible? That's why you have lament. You are lamenting, you are singing a song, but that song is full of agony. There is a lot of pain in the song. There is a lot of, जो जिसको हम बोलेंगे एक तरीके का दुखी गाना. My mother hummed Here's lament. माँ ने उसी तरीके का क्या है, she is hummed. What is humming? Here's lament. वो भी गुनगुना रही है कुछ हीर की तरह का कोई नगमा, लेकिन जिसमें दर्द है, जिसमें आह है. बट नेवर टोल्ड मी, लेकिन उसने कभी भी इसको नहीं बताया आगा शाहिद अली को, इफ शी ऑल्सो बर्न स्टिक्स ऑफ जैस्मीन दैट डाइंग kept raising soft necks of ashes, कि उसने भी कभी अगरबत्ती को जलाया, फिर वो इंतज़ार किया, whether she has waited all night and kept raising soft necks of ashes. I said, if you talk of this line, kept raising soft necks of ashes, ashes of incense. अगरबत्ती का जो होता है वो एशेस वगैरह वो वहीं पे रहती हैं काफ़ी टाइम तक, वो लटकी रहती हैं, और ये है ओमन ऑफ सम होप। आप मैसेज पास करते हैं और आपको उम्मीद है कि आपका रेस्पॉन्स आने वाला है। और इन द पोइम कि आगा शाहिद अली का बकौल, द पोइट के बकौल क्या है कि माँ, उसकी माँ भी गाती है, गुनगुनाती है हीर की तरह के सॉन्ग्स, पैथेटिक पेनफुल सॉन्ग्स, बट, और फिर दूसरी बात देखो आप, बट नेवर टोल्ड मी इफ़ शी ऑल्सो बर्न स्टिक्स, लेकिन उसने कभी भी नहीं बताया शायर को कि कभी उसने जैस्मीन वगैरह को की स्टिक्स जो हैं वो जलाई, और फिर उसने इंतज़ार किया किसी चीज़ का, राइट। और what he says, I imagined each neck leaning on the humid air, each neck. Now he imagines what? Each neck leaning on the humid air. अगरबत्ती जो है वो जनाब अली, that is there, the idea is वो जलती है और वो वहीं पर है, that is in a leaning position on where, on the humid air. ह्यूमिड एयर इस वजह से, इफ़ यू टॉक ऑफ मानसून, मानसून का सीज़न हम कहते हैं उसी को हैं जिसमें बरसात होती है, जिसको ज़बरदस्त गर्मी हो, और गर्मी में जिसको बारिश ज़बरदस्त पड़े, दैट इज़ कंसीडर यू हैव सम ह्यूमिडिटी देयर। बट हियर द आइडिया इज़ मून, जो ये अगरबत्ती है, अगरबत्ती जलती है, जिसको जो जलाई जाती है, एक आइडिया ये होता है कि इस ये एशेस जो हैं वे लटकी रहती हैं काफ़ी टाइम तक, और ये होता है कि आप मैसेज पास करते हैं, आप यहाँ से जलते हैं, मैसेज पास करते हैं, और आप इंतज़ार करते हैं वहाँ के रिस्पॉन्स का। लेकिन एक बात उसने सिर्फ बताई थी, शी ओनली सेड, ओनली लफ्ज़, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द वर्ड ओनली, दैट इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड। जो ये लफ्ज़ है ओनली, और ये किस चीज़ को सिग्निफाई करता है, ये आपने देखना पड़ेगा, ठीक है। शी ओनली सेड, द पोइट्स मदर ओनली सेड व्हाट शी सेज, द मानसून नेवर क्रॉसेस द माउंटेन्स इनटू कश्मीर, कि मानसून कभी भी कश्मीर में नहीं आता है, इट विल नेवर क्रॉस द माउंटेन्स इनटू कश्मीर, माउंटेन्स को क्रॉस करके कभी कश्मीर में नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि इफ़ यू टॉक ऑफ कश्मीर, कश्मीर इज हिली एरिया, यू कैन इजीली अंडरस्टैंड, तो मानसून इधर नहीं आता है। आइडिया यह है कि मानसून इधर आना चाहिए। इन अदर वर्ड्स, शी रिकॉल्स हर, इट सिग्निफाइज दैट शी रिकॉल्स हर beloved, she recalls her lover, she recalls her lover, that's what she says, right? The poet has used this word the only to suggest that the monsoon never crosses Kashmir, it will make his mother unhappy, the mother is basically unhappy, right? Her helplessness and extreme sadness are suggested by the word what is called only, right? That's why she only said, the idea is जिसको आप लफ्ज़ only को यूज़ करते हैं, in other words she is in pain, that's why she recalls, she's recalling those days, she's recalling the season of monsoon, and that is why she says the monsoon never crosses the mountains into Kashmir. It indicates she wishes that it must cross, come into Kashmir, but that's not possible at all. In other words, it is possible that her lover is somewhere in the Lucknow and she wants to recollect all those images. I am, okay, dear students, let us try to see certain phrases. Soaking their utter summer, that is used in the poem. Children drench themselves in the rain because it brings relief from summer's scorching heat. Right? You have very terrible type of heat, what is called the summer scorching heat, and children are, soaking themselves in into the rain, in the rain. They're enjoying, they're very happy. And you find, otherwise, you find that life is there is active life because of children. Children makes, the system happy. They are soaking themselves in the rain, and because of that rain there is some relief to the children from scorching heat. Okay, their love forbidden, as I have made it clear. The lovers are not allowed to disclose their love because they live in a conservative society which forbids such relationships. You have lot of restrictions. I said there is religious restrictions, there is social restrictions, there are moral restrictions, you have also ethical restrictions. Because of all these restrictions, they are love forbidden. They are not given allowed that they want to, make a display of their love. They want to become united, but that is not allowed at all. Okay. Soft necks of ash. Now this is again very interesting phrase. The shape of the burnt out incense stick with a soft ash hanging around on a curved slender thread of burnt wood. अगर आपने अगरबत्ती को अच्छी तरीके से देखा हो, you will find, ash is there when it gets burnt, but at the same time you have a stick there. That's why, that particular ash is considered soft necks of ashes. लेकिन ये थोड़ा सा रहता है कनेक्टेड, ये फटाफट गिरती, एशेस गिरती नहीं है. ये पोइट ने डेलिबरेटली यूज़ किया है in order to tell you, you know in order to tell you the what is called the hope, the idea of hope, right? Okay, students, I'm leaving you here. We'll meet you in the next, lecture, and that is again on this particular poem. I'm leaving you here. Till then, goodbye.